Hello there, beautiful, and welcome back to The Dark Alchemist. In today's pick a card reading, we will look at your role as a starseed here on planet Earth. We're going to look at what your role is, what kind of challenges you have and will face along the way, as well as bring you a little bit of guidance on how you can further ground yourself in your mission here. I am really excited for this reading and for this content in general because I am going to post some content surrounding starseeds for the next 2 weeks, all based on this pick a card reading, of course. So already I can tell you that you have a pick a card reading coming your way, this one that you're watching right now, welcome, as well as an EFT tapping session based on this pick a card reading. There will be a talk about what it means to be a starseed, and we're going to look at what it means to have a starseed consciousness, more specifically. And the fourth resource is going to be an Usuyo Reiki treatment. 30 minutes long, some energy healing. I might also post some artsy content alongside that, but if I have the time to create that. But regardless, let's start with your reading. Oh, I'm excited. I'm just excited. I have nothing more to say. All right. As you can see, I don't have space for a candle today in my setup, so let's start this off by taking 3 deep centering breaths. Take a deep breath in and out. Take a deep breath in and out. And take a deep breath in, please. And out. Excellent. So now that we have grounded ourselves for this reading, let me show you the crystals that I have for each pile. Let's look at our 3 piles for today. For pile number 1, we have the card of resin. For pile number 2, we have the peacock's tail. And for pile number 3, we have the card of separation. The crystal for pile number 1 is this lovely piece of ammonite. For pile number 2, we have this piece of clear quartz. And for pile number 3, we have this piece of pyrite. If my camera would love to focus on it. Here we go. All right, I'm going to zoom in to the cards for you and give you about a minute of meditation with some music, and you can see which pile or maybe piles you feel most drawn to. You can find the timestamp down below in the description box, and I will see you in your selected piles. If you chose the resin card and the piece of ammonite, welcome to your reading, my lovely starseeds. So already for you, I got a first couple of messages just when I pulled your cards. We're going to start with this one here with a card of resin. Because for this one, I heard a very clear message, and it's that you are here. Your role here is to come in and preserve. You are preserving, and we're going to look a little bit as well into on this side, a bit on the challenges that come with this role of preserving, as well as the outcome of your life here as a starseed, as you are working your way through this mission. Now, with resin, we have a bit of a double-edged sword, because resin, when I heard preserving, I know that your role here is to preserve a specific kind of knowledge, but resin also can feel a little bit sticky. You know, resin itself, I mean, if you had like tree sap ever on your hands, like it's sticky. And that's exactly it. There is a tendency in you or in your energy that comes with this role, you know. It's not like you're not doing anything wrong. It's just something that is a bit of a shadow side that comes with this capability to preserve and access knowledge, is that you have a tendency of holding on far longer to things that are not serving you, and becoming a bit stuck in the past almost. So that's just one thing first and foremost. And I also find it kind of funny that you got the piece of ammonite, because I mean, this is a fossilized shell. So it's also something that has a certain amount of age behind it, you know, has a certain kind of history behind it as well. So that to me as well is kind of funny. But before we go deeper, let us pull a couple more cards, and I'm going to lay them out, and then we're gonna have a chat. So I did ask for 2 and I got 3, but the third one is the bottom deck energy, so like the overarching energy for this. And these cards are describing the challenges that you might experience along this journey or in your lifetime here. So the first card that we have for you is Star Ancestors, Hidden Secrets, Lost Wisdom. Look a little deeper. I'm laughing because I didn't look at the card before. So funny. All right. We have the 7 Star Sisters, Birthing Creations, Tapestry of Life and Expression. This is so fitting. Wow. Okay. And then bottom deck energy for you was Lost Lands, Soul Memories and Gifts. You've done this before. This card that I'm holding here is a very, very powerful card to get, by the way. The soul gifts, soul memories. You've done this before. Let me move this up a bit. And then, yeah, let's actually stay with this side for a moment before I move forward, I guess. You are at a time in your life where you are kind of like this portal that you see here, where there is a portal opening for you. And as I say that, if you did watch my last pick a card, which were the messages from the Hawksbird, there was also one pile where I spoke about that, and your energy, I feel it very strongly. So if that is you, hi. I wanted to say that there is a portal opening up for you when it comes to memories, when it comes to remembering past lives and tapping back into this ancient kind of knowledge. With this Star Ancestors and Hidden Secrets, Lost Wisdom, and the Lost Lands, you, as a soul, you are an ancient soul. You have lived many lifetimes both on Earth and also off Earth. And of course, as a starseed, your origin, your soul origin, the origin of your consciousness is from off Earth, so from an otherworldly kind of place. And from that, you will have carried a lot of wisdom as you also see the world and humanity progressing over all of these lifetimes. I get a sense that you, in your soul journey, you were, so you, like I said, you had several incarnations here on Earth, but there were many periods where it was not like one lifetime after the other. It's more like you dipped in, you dipped out, you dipped in, you dipped out, you dipped in, you dipped out. And it's like each time that you dipped in was already a preparation for this lifetime that you're having right now. And when you were dipping in and you had a human incarnation, it was always at pivotal times, historically speaking, for humanity. It's basically you wanted to have the experience of having the first hand experience of going through these kinds of times of transition and times of great tumultuation in order to prepare yourself for the big one. And the sense that I'm getting is that the big one that you prepared yourself for in all of these other lifetimes is the one now. At the moment, I don't know how this is tying in, and I don't know at the moment as well how this is playing out in this lifetime that you're living here. And I have a feeling that we're not gonna get into that a lot. We're not gonna go there. But just so you know that parts of you being here in these kinds of transitional times of like big changes was a way for you to prepare yourself for this. It's like the kind of knowledge that you gathered along the way is as well for you to, how can I put that? It's like you've studied, this is going to sound a bit weird, but I whatever. I mean, I'm going to say it, this whole reading, like not just your pile, but the whole pick a card, I feel like it's going to be a bit more on a different perspective anyway, so we're just going to run with that. It's like each time that you were incarnated here, you took time to study every single possible reactions that humans can have to new information, and the kinds of reactions, as well as both positive and negative, can come from the way of presenting a particular new knowledge or invention. It's like you were here at times where the worldviews of people were severely shaken and breaking open to a broader perspective. And in the past, things haven't always been going that well when it came to that, particularly for the people that were quote unquote breaking the news, you know, or like bringing this new kind of perspective or this new kind of knowledge in. And I feel like you being here and studying that kind of behavior and feeling as well like how the energy shifted, it's like, I mean, the moment that there is a physical outbreak, so to speak, on the outside in the physical world, while people are coming together to engage in some kind of activities surrounding that and wanting to suppress some kind of knowledge, that is already a point where it's like past the tipping point, but you studied specifically the earlier stages of that. So in this lifetime, you have a particular sensitivity when it comes to picking up these collective energy patterns and very, very like noticing very, very strongly how a particular group is feeling, but also picking up on their intentions, whether or not there's something to worry about. For some of you, one message that they're bringing through, when I say they, I mean my guys are bringing through, as that if you have ever lived in a bigger city, you were out at night, you had a couple of situations in your life where you were trying to go home after an event, etc., and you were just like in the subway, etc., and you noticed a particular group of people, and you instinctively felt that you needed to go to the other end of the train and mix yourself in with, like sit next to that particular kind of group of people that you saw on the other side. And it always struck you as a little bit odd, and you're like, okay, I guess I trust my intuition, and they look kind of shady, but it goes much deeper than that, because you were picking up on these kinds of intentions, these kinds of group intentions, this kind of group energy, however big or small that group is. So that is part of your wisdom. And this is important going forward, because we are once again at a time right before they're giving me an image. I'm trying to find the right words to translate that. You know, there's like, it's an image and a feeling. So bear with me for a couple of moments here, please. We're once again at a time where such a radical shift in perspective, in opening up the world views, etc. are and is possible. Starseeds have a strong connection to that. And again, they don't want me to go deeper into that. I'm only smiling because I have a bit of an idea about that, but I will keep it out of this for now. And with that, there needs to be a lot of finesse when it comes to handling all of these different kinds of emotions, because when these kinds of worldviews are collapsing and breaking open, we need to be really careful in the way that we are interacting with others, not just coming as a starseed, but as humans as well, like just the way that even in which you interact with others, because people are going to have all types of reactions to that, with like a large foundation being grounded in more fear-based, because through the narration that, or the conditioning that people have received is, as well as the human brain is wired, is that something is unknown, it needs to be a bit feared, right? So parts of your knowledge is to bring that kind of knowledge from all of these past lifetimes together in order to finesse your skills when it comes to handling the upcoming changes, as well as, and this is where the preserving knowledge comes in. With this knowledge preservation, parts of your past lifetime have been in these kinds of more powerful positions where you were able to help others through that, guide others through that in various different positions. You know, in some cases, you were the ones that were actually holding that vibration, or the ones that were actually breaking the news, right? Like I said, you studied that kind of time from all different kinds of perspective. You're bringing that in and connecting that with the kind of work that you're doing somehow. Again, at the moment, I don't know how, but anyway, that's part of it, and this is what this challenge speaks of. Remember when I said that the resin also has this kind of sticky quality, and sometimes you feel like you're a bit lost in the past? Because you've had these kinds of experiences, you've likely experienced quite a bit of like anxious kinds of feelings in this lifetime, and it's because you have all of these past experiences under your belt, and some of them didn't end so nicely. I will put it very, very gently. So there's a little bit of trauma connected to those lifetimes, as well as wisdom, of course. But you have a bit of a tendency of expecting this transition, the big one that you've been preparing for such a long time. There is subconsciously a bit of an expectation that this will play out in the same way that others have previously, when that is not the case. It's not going to repeat itself because we also have this kind of knowledge. So there are like, there's a different way of going about things. There's a different way of doing these kinds of introductions. And they're not giving me more than that right now. Okay, fine. I will leave that part of the reading here, I guess. And that's why we have, by the way, like birthing creations here with the 7-star sisters. I didn't even speak about that. Birthing creations, tapestry of life and expression. I already touched on the expression, but the birthing creations, it's like you study that in order to be able to help birth this kind of shift in a way that is the most gentle on everybody. And when I say the most gentle, does not mean that it will necessarily be super gentle, but more gentle than it has been in the past. Like these kinds of transitions. All right. I'm going to leave that there. Let us have look at a couple of cards, because I also asked asked, I can't say that word right now. I also investigated where you were standing in regards to this kind of like challenging energy. Wow, okay, so we have the Six of Swords, which came up in reverse. So we will leave it like that. We have the Two of Cups. And then the last card we have is the Hanged Man. Okay, so that is quite clear here. The Six of Swords in reverse, I mean, the swords are connected to the mind state. And this connects back to what I said, that because you have all of these memories and under your belt and like all of these experience, there is a tendency of expecting this lifetime here with this big shift to happen in the same way as it did back then, because the Six of Swords in like upright speaks about a passage to calmer tides. You see that here, like the water is really rough and choppy, and there it's smooth, but because it's in the mind, it's like you don't expect this to be more gentle. You expect this to be kind of, I mean, it will be a bit chaotic, but you expect things to like really go down south. I can't put it any other way. You really expect things to go super down south. And with this Two of Cups, they're really drawing my attention to the catechist that is here. So the symbol of healing. And the Hanged Man as well speaks about having a period of rest and having a period of letting go. This speaks about letting go. And you are in this process of letting go the fear that you are still carrying from these past experiences, so that you can tap into that kind of knowledge without the... I'm lacking the words for this. I'm truly sorry. The best way I can describe it, listen, these kinds of concepts and the kind of scale that we're talking about right now, I mean, like, our words are lacking for that. There's no other way to describe that anyway, but let me give this my best shot. So, the way that they are describing or sharing that with me, it's like you are being called and you are in the process right now of releasing these kinds of fear-based emotions in connection to these shifts, so that you can tap into this knowledge in order to create a more beneficial shift in the future. That's the closest I can get to that. Yeah, so you're being called to release that. And again, you're in the process of that, but that's where you stand in terms of this kind of challenge. I will also say with the Hanged Man, the Hanged Man also speaks about new perspectives and this like lost lands, soul memories, gifts. You've done this before, birthing creations, tapestry of life and expression. At the same time, there is this kind of portal opening to you when it comes to these past life memories, which also will change your perspective to embrace a broader perspective, a broader understanding of your journey as a soul, your journey as one drop of consciousness. So you yourself are also a part of this shift as well. Naturally, we all are. Okay, that's what they want me to share with that. Let's have a look at the outcome. And I asked for 2 and I got 4, but 2 of these came out together. Gotta be kidding me. Soul Star activation, fulfilling soul contracts, remembering who you are. I say you gotta be kidding me, because your past life connection and all the lives that you've lived, like all the experiences you've had, can they be any more clear. Like, can they be any louder, basically? And then we have Emerald Tablet Activation, Cosmic Ordering, Divine Alchemy, Conscious Manifesting. And then these two came out together as one message. Wait, this one came up first, yeah. That was funny because we have the Temple of Truth with throat chakra, authenticity, and another self-expression. You have expression here as well. And then, wait, we got Seraphim's Gateway, Voice Activation, Angelic Attunement, Divine Support. And these two came out together as one. So let's have them like this for now. And I'm really drawn to this imagery here of this kind of pillar where the energy and the light is sort of like, it's also almost a certain kind, this kind of serpent, the serpent that is like winding itself across and around this pillar of light, which brings me back to this like Two of Cups kind of imagery here with the serpent that we have there of the Caduceus. And that's how I feel about your energy. Like, you are, by doing this kind of remembrance work and preserving this kind of knowledge, you are allowing that energy to ground, because it's no longer, how can I put that? It's not new kind of energy. It's more so that we are collectively remembering the foundation that is already there and starting to build more and more on that. And because of that, we are able to create this shift in a different way as well, because it's not, it's like the past is illuminated for us. Like, collectively, the past is illuminated for us. And because of that, we have different kinds of perspectives and we gain new knowledge. And we're not starting from zero here, you know, we're building on an already existing foundation. And your work here, like your role as a starseed of doing this kind of remembrance, as well as doing the kind of healing work surrounding that, you're clearing it collectively for the collective, because none of us are separate, all of us are connected. So that's why you have like the divine alchemy here as well. That's part of your outcome. And with the soul star activation, fulfilling soul contracts and remembering who you are, as you are remembering who you are, and as you are potentially sharing that, you know, it doesn't have to be on a scale like having a YouTube channel or whatever. It can just be you sharing that with your loved ones, the ones that you are connecting with when it comes to these kinds of topics, like more soul, family, etc. The more you are sharing your remembrance with them, the more you're also activating them. That's why we have like throat chakra, authenticity, self-expression, voice activation, divine support here, because that is part of your role. Like, you are part of this divine support role. You as this ancient soul, as this preserver of knowledge. I feel like there will be like certain events that we have in the past of human history will almost be revisited and rewritten, and they will be revisited and rewritten in the way that things did happen versus how we would like them to happen, or how certain power structures would like us to remember them. And I feel like when these things are starting to come up, like things will be revealed, as these things are coming up, you're going to get big surges of remembrance, of being like, oh my God, I was there. I have a memory of that. And I feel like parts of this will also come to you during dream time, where you will remember and visit these places, and you will be like, whoa. It's almost like you will be able to verify whether or not something is true that is revealed based on your life experiences in your past lives. That's really big. All right. I have a couple of more cards for you, because I wanted to check out what you can do now to support yourself in this process. Wow. We got eclipse with transformation, which is wild to me because, I mean, eclipses are the most powerful times to engage in transformation. Also, by the way, I'm sorry that the dogs are barking. I think they're alone at the moment. Like, we have usually there are 2 living here at the moment. We got 3. My battery is low. Let me be right back. So I said right now, usually we have 2 dogs here, but right now we got 3. And the third one always wants to animate the other 2 to play. And I like her, but she's a bit annoying. And I will go downstairs after your pile to tell all of them off. With a lot of love, of course. But yeah, with this like transformation, by the way, with the eclipse as well, I want to draw your attention to the imagery because you see how there are roots sprouting down from underneath her where she's sitting. It's like grounding your energy, rooting your energy down, like grounding your energy to allow this kind of transformational energy to move through you. And I'm also being drawn back here to the color red that's mirrored there. And I mean, red is the color of the root chakra. So we got topics of safety and security connected to that as well that want to be looked at. I mean, makes sense. We talked a little bit about the fear already. And I mean, like, fear means that you don't feel safe. Yeah. We got choose love. And this one came out together and was supported by this one last quarter release. It's very clear for you. So I'm just going to leave them like this, honestly. And then we have pyrite. Confidence, luck, and prosperity. They want me to speak a little bit about the topic of confidence when it comes to this. These kinds of topics that we spoke about today of having this kind of past life memories, etc., and having memories of being present in these different kinds of timelines or these different kinds of times, and having some kind of historic knowledge about those are topics that are not talked about in our society in general, and are topics that are, if you do share them, and you share them, I don't even know how to say that. I'm going to make this a bit shorter because I was trying to get there like a very roundabout way. These kinds of topics are not accepted by a lot of people at the present time. This is one of the things that will shift again. We spoke about this a bit already. When these memories are starting to arise for you, do write them down and validate them for yourself. There is a need here to develop a bit more self-trust in your experiences. Self-trust in your experiences. And also with like the last quarter and release card, I want to draw your attention to her third eye, which is wide open. She's in the meditative posture. You're being called to release these old things. As well, you see how the stars here and then the stars mirrored there around the third eye. It's like this knowledge, like downloads of these kinds of knowledges, of this knowledge coming in through your crown and third eye. The love is there because as you are getting these kinds of memories, with the fear being present, it's important for you to feel these feelings in a way that feels safe to you, and then lovingly releasing those kinds of memories. Thanking them for reappearing because they are bringing you, as you're remembering them, you are remembering this kind of sacred knowledge, this old ancient kind of knowledge of how things can move and shift and turn and tip, how the energies can tip, etc. for people. Thank it for that. Feel these feelings and then let it go. Because again, as you are letting that go, and when I say let it go, I mean let the fear of it go, let the emotional hooks to these kinds of memories, lovingly releasing those so that you only have the memory left, basically, essentially. That's a bit more clear about that. Because as you only have this kind of memory left, you're able to look at this from an objective standpoint where you can then dissect and see what actually happened without, you know, the having the fear lens on, basically, right? It's a bit more like analytical way of looking at those times and seeing which kinds of actions from which kind of person tipped which kind of mood in whatever way, or not, you know, or, you know, sometimes maybe someone had a good speech about the changes, etc., and, you know, shifted the mood in a different direction. It's all about these little details. Yeah. Like, allow this transformation to take place. Allow that knowledge to come in. Root yourself in it. There's nothing more that they want me to share today for you. All right. So my beautiful pile number ones, my knowledge keepers, that is the message that I have for you today. I'd be so curious to hear from you in the comments down below if this activated something for you or what your experience was about this reading, because I haven't done a Starseed reading before on this channel. And yeah, I'm curious. Again, there will be 3 extra resources coming your way this week and also next week. The first one is going to be an EFT tapping session based on this pick a card reading to release some emotional charges about thoughts, feelings, and memories connected to your role on a collective level, of course. You know, like, we could work on this personal one-on-one if something comes up for you and you're interested in that, because EFT tapping also works with that. The second extra resource, the second extra resource is going to be a talk about what it means to be a starseed from a consciousness perspective and coming down as an otherworldly consciousness into human society. It's going to come out later this week. And the third one is going to be a 30-minute Reiki treatment to bring you some energy healing, some cleansing, some harmonizing of all of your energy bodies surrounding this topic. All right. If any of those are all already, you'll find them in the pinned comment down below. And that's it. Have a beautiful rest of your week, and I hope I see you soon again. Bye. If you felt drawn to the peacock's tail, then welcome, welcome, welcome to your reading, my lovely starseeds. And we're going to start this off by very briefly just touching on this card, and then I'm going to pull a couple more. Overall, structure-wise, we're going to look at the challenges that your role presents. We're going to look at where you are currently standing in terms of these challenges. We're going to look at the outcome of this lifetime of yours and you doing this kind of work, as well as some guidance for how you can best support yourself through this time right now. Okay, so with the peacock's tail, this card is a representation of your role here as a starseed. And the peacock's tail in particular speaks about the ability of holding a multitude of perspectives. So your role here is to hold these multitude of perspectives. It has a lot of energy to do as well with being empathetic and being able to see a different situation or different situations from different viewpoints, different kind of conflicts from different viewpoints, and being able to sort of see everyone's side without necessarily needing to pick one that is right or wrong, because it always depends on your perspective, on your standpoint, on your viewpoint, on your conditioning, etc. And you have a very, very keen awareness for those kinds of interactions, or for that kind of perspective on the universe, so to speak. This is something that plays out, or I should say the contrary of this energy that you're holding is playing out very, very strongly in our society, where there is one truth, there is one perspective that is allowed to be there, and everyone else who disagrees with that is plainly wrong. And it's this like fight of who's right, who's wrong. This is true. This is my truth. If my truth is true, your truth can't be true. And you are basically the umbrella over all of all of these perspectives, and having this kind of ability of being like, actually, I see your point, I see your point, I see why you would think that, given the conditioning that you've had, etc. I can see why you would arrive at that kind of perspective, at that viewpoint, at that conclusion, and the same is true for you as well, right? So there is a unbiased is the word I'm looking for. You have a way of looking at things with an unbiased differentiation because of this multiplicity of perspective. All right. Let me grab a couple more cards and then we will go a bit deeper, but that was really important. I needed to say that first and foremost. And by the way, this like multiplicity of perspective is something that you cultivated already in your life along the way, because when you think of the peacock, when the peacock is just walking around, you know, the peacock's tail, you know, like all of the eyes are not always open, you know, most of the time they are like his tail wings are not, I'm liking words today anyway, good day to do a pick a card, are not, I want to say stretched out, but I know that's the wrong word for it, but we'll go with that. You know, this kind of motion, they're not always out, you know, usually they are folded. The wings are folded together, I guess. But is it really the wings? It's the tail feathers. Anyway, the tail is usually folded in and not, you know, out in the open. And I feel like much for you, there was a period in your life where you were also caught up in this, like who's right, who's wrong, etc. And until like you, my guide said graduated, you almost like graduated to this different kind of perspective, because you have, like in your own healing work, you've done that kind of work to see, even in your own suffering, like your own experiences where there was great suffering, you were, through your healing work, able to see why someone else would do that kind of thing to you based on where they were coming from. Not to excuse what they did in any way, shape, or form, not at all. It's more to have a kind of analytical understanding of why someone would choose to have or to make certain actions, certain decisions. Again, not in a way to take any kind of accountability away from someone else and their shitty behavior. Not about that at all. It's more so, I see that your conditioning of you experiencing this and this and this in your life led to you as a coping mechanism hurt me in this way. That's it. So that's the multiplicity of perspective. And I also want to draw your attention to the fact that there is one singular eye here, and all of these colors are coming out from this one singular eye. And basically that is you viewing everything in this multiplicity. All right. I think you should probably do a counter on how often I'm going to say the word multiplicity throughout your reading, because already it's been a lot, so much so that I'm noticing it. So we're going to see. All right, let's have a look at your challenges. And I got 4 cards for you, but I wanted to pull the bottom deck energy for you as well. And it's funny because all of these basically came out as one message. So we got Waite. It's not time. Things are being woven. We got Cracked Open. Rock bottom. Surrender to the alchemy of life. We got karmic relationships, yeah. Orion energy, polarity, soul growth, and conflict. And we have child of the cosmos. The intelligence of the universe lies within you. And then bottom deck energy, I wanted to show you that as well. We're going to put it over there for a moment because look at the imagery here. Fall into my arms. We have surrender holding the opposites extremes of life. And I feel like, I mean, obviously we're going to talk about the 4 cards that are here, but this is bottom deck energy, so that's the overarching tone of these 4 cards. And I feel like this card in itself describes perfectly this there's almost it's almost a feeling of a conundrum, of being able to see everyone else's viewpoint, and being able, because that means that you are able to hold these kinds of extremes, you know. And listen, also being able to hold or to see all of these different kinds of perspectives, it can lead to a lot of conflict in relationships. Because like so often in relationships, if there is some kind of fight going on or whatever, we're asked to choose sides, not just when we are fighting ourselves, but also when we're witnessing other people fighting, you know, and you're like, I don't know, like nobody's really right, like nobody's really wrong, like I get it. And I feel as well, because you have that kind of ability in your personal life, there have been many years where people were coming to you for advice when it came to these kinds of relationship difficulties, where you were almost their kind of oracle to speak about these things. I'm gonna pop that here for now. Let's talk about the other 4. With Waite, it's not yet time. Things are being woven. With you having this kind of multiplicity of perspective, there is a challenge that when it comes to your relationships, we have here polarity, soul growth, and conflict. I will read this card from the guidebook in a moment, because it's pivotal for your reading. But I want to say, first of all, about the wait, it's not yet time, things are being woven. There is a bit of a difficulty when it comes to you holding the multiplicity of perspective, where you give people more chances than would be beneficial for you. That's the most gentle way that I can put that I can phrase that, because you are understanding why someone is hurting you in a specific way, and because you have that kind of understanding, you have that kind of compassion, you are very, very slow when it comes to setting kind of boundaries or even cutting someone off when that would have been a beneficial choice for you to make. Because you're able to have this multiplicity of perspective. So you stay in relationships and you stay in situations far longer than is beneficial for you, but particularly speaking about relationships. At the same time, because you have this multiplicity of perspective, you are also able to see someone's potential. Because you would also, how can I phrase that? It's like not only are you seeing the way, or like why someone is the way that they are and why someone is behaving and taking the actions the way that they are, you're also at the same time able to sort of see how they could be if they healed that aspect in themselves, if they were to go back and heal the kind of relationship wounds that they themselves have suffered from, you know, the reasons that lead them to taking these kinds of actions. So there's almost sometimes when it comes to relationships, at least in the past, almost this pattern of engaging in a relationship based on the potential of someone rather than the reality of how they actually are in the present time with you, towards you, and how they will be in the near future. Which, difficult. I'm just going to say it's difficult. That's difficult. That's really difficult, because you're not having a relationship with someone else's potential. You're having a relationship with who they are right here, right now. Naturally, there is a hope for what you will both grow into and grow into together as well, always. But first and foremost, your relationship is in the now. It's not in the future, it's now. So there are some challenges. because of you being able to have this multiplicity of perspective, I really should do a counter. We got this like cracked open here. This goes back to two things. The first one is that what I just spoke of, you are able to see someone else's potential. When you look at the imagery, it's basically you're able to see the light body that someone has underneath all of the like outside layers. You're able to see the potential and the light body that's underneath it, which again makes it very difficult sometimes to step away, because you understand them also in a way that other people don't. Very difficult to also, by the way, when you are leaving someone's life, whether they're aware of it at the moment that you are leaving or not, trust me when I say that after you've gone, give them a little bit of time, have them meet a couple of new people, and every single one of them is going to come around and be like, oh my God, I fucked up badly. Because someone like you stand out in these kinds of qualities, and the kind of understanding that you bring, the kind of nurturing that you bring to your relationships. Can't be replaced, really. It can't. There's nothing else I can say about that. Secondly, with like rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life, because you have been falling a bit more into the potential, there is this pattern of seeing the actuality too late almost, or accepting, not seeing it. It's not that like you're seeing it, but it's acceptance. It's accepting the actuality of the present moment with someone else a bit too late. And because of that, you basically have been hitting rock bottom more than once, particularly again when it comes to the relationships. Or like certain actions needed to be taken by other people that fully like almost opened your eyes and were like, oh my God, this is how they are. Because to you and to the way that your energy works with this multiplicity of perspectives, I really gotta stop saying that. The way that you view everything, you have difficulty with discerning what someone's potential is versus where they're at. It's like it's fluid. It's fluid. It's like flowing one into the other, and sometimes it's a bit difficult for you to discern. Also, because when you are spending time with them, because of your sensitivity, you are picking up on their energy, and you're picking up on their energy correctly on this light body. You know, so sometimes you have been confusing the light body that's underneath all of the layers with or like, it's not even confusing, that's also not the right word. It's like you were holding on to the light body for dear life. And you're like, if I just love them a little bit more, the light body needs to come out and shine, because in a way that's how you function. When you are shown some love, there's more light that expands. Whereas the people that you were engaging with, it's like the more love that you've shown them, the more light that you've given them, the more they withdrew, or the more dark they got almost. And it was a protective mechanism from their end. Had nothing to do with you, like nothing at all. It's just, you know, like they were not ready. But yeah, and with like child of the cosmos, it's the intelligence of the universe lies within you. And with this cracked open, I know that some people have said when you have entered into these relationships, or if you have ever gone back to a person like that, people have called you naive and said some other not very nice things to you or about you when you went back into these situations, and you are carrying some grief, sadness, and some guilt about that. Because again, like sometimes you were going back to a person after you already discerned that it's not the best for you, but you went back anyway. And I want you to know that you were not naive for going back at all. It's that you have such a it's like a rare kind of intelligence that you carry, because this perspective that you carry, you carry the perspective of all that was, all that is, and all that will be into one. So you were not naive. You're basically just tapping, when you were envisioning coming back together with them, etc. You had the ability to view into different kinds of timelines of how they could potentially change. And you saw the different kinds of timelines. And you also saw the highest timelines for them. And that's what you latched your hope onto. And that's why you went back. But again, you yourself were not in a position of being ready to have this kind of discernment. It was like part of your own healing journey was to discern that. All right, I said I wanted to read the karmic relationships, right? I really feel like I need to for you. Karmic relationships, Orion energy, polarity, soul growth, and conflict. The constellation Orion is thought by many to have been a place of great polarity and eventual unity. Some believe that many starseeds who are part of this cosmic history are incarnate on Earth now and are playing out karmic relationships from Orion times. Perhaps you are one of them. Polarity causes conflict and highlights separation. However, because of this, conflict can also result in unity and growth. Too many misunderstandings are caused when we don't open our heart and mind and see things from a different point of view. When we go into reactive second-guessing mode, instead of gathering the courage to open our heart, we should admit that we may have reacted because of our own woundings and then find mutual ground. We are all innocent children looking to be seen, understood, and cherished. It's much harder to grow closer through conflict. It is to grow further apart. What? It's much harder to grow closer through conflict than it is to grow further apart. And yet that is the invitation of conflict. It's easy to react and take things personally. It's more challenging to see the innocence of all involved and find a way to grow closer through the conflict. It's through relationships that we grow the most. How can you soften your heart and drop your defenses enough to see things from a different point of view? How can you see the innocence of all involved? And how can you learn to see the similarities rather than the differences? Starseed Soul Inquiry. Which relationships do you find the most challenging? How can you see things from a different perspective? How are you being called to allow growth through the conflict? And I mean, this is basically what we talked about already. But I want to come back to what I said in the beginning, that you did not come here, or yes, you came here with that kind of perspective, but it was not an ability that you already had. It was through your own healing journey, you opened that view. And like I said, you moving on from certain people, certain relationships, the people that you have left behind are going to react differently going forward in their own lives, in their own relationships. And you opening that viewpoint, you're not just opening for yourself, you're opening it up for others. But often you don't see how that plays out because you are no longer in the picture. Because rock bottom had to happen and you had to withdraw completely in order to move forward. And it was not because you were not able to see their viewpoint. You absolutely have, but it takes two people to come together to lower the defenses. And you cannot be the only one to lower your defenses. That's not how that works. All right, that was very clear. I'm gonna feel like leaving that one up there. Let us have a look at where you stand when it comes to this challenge. So we have the Two of Wands. And when I pulled this card in reverse, when I pulled this card, I heard a message that you are not aware that this is a choice. Let's see how that ties in. We got the Ace of Swords. We got the Four of Swords in reverse. And you got a fourth one, the Justice card. Let me see how I can make some space here. So you are, in regards to this, in a moment of contemplation. And this contemplation is about making peace with the fact that it is a choice, and it is a choice for others to open their perspective, to view something from a different point of view or not, and take certain actions or not. And I'm sensing like a little bit of a topic of codependency as well, of wanting to heal others because you know best. And with this contemplation and this message that I heard, that you don't really know that it's a choice, I'm getting this feeling that you are moving right now into a position where you let others be. You are observing how others are reacting, and you are focusing your attention more on how someone and who someone is in the now versus then who they will be or might be in their highest timeline in the future. So you're bringing your focus to the present. And that's very beneficial for you actually, because it provides you with a lot of mental clarity. First of all, that allows you to have a bit of a perspective of an observer, of being able to see how this like these kinds of situations are playing out. You're also allowing yourself to ground yourself a bit more in your own perspectives. It's like when you're able to see everyone else's viewpoint, sometimes your own can get a bit lost along the way, you know, but you are also someone who is deserving of this unconditional kind of love. You're also deserving of somebody who is willing to, in a conflict, see things from your standpoint and is willing to make and adjust changes in order to find a compromise that makes you both comfortable in the relationship. And remember when this like child card came out, the intelligence of the universe lies within you. I also spoke briefly about the topic of naivety. And seeing the world from this lens that you have is so ingrained in your own personality that sometimes it's difficult for you to understand that you also have the choice of opening this up or not opening this up. And it's like you expect everybody else to have the same kind of ability. So sometimes when someone has not developed that kind of ability yet, you are, how can I put this? You basically have a little bit of judgment surrounding them, and basically this feeling of them being evil or mean, when that's not necessarily the case. It's that, you know, they themselves haven't discovered that they have a choice in that yet, that they're coming from a wounded ego and needing to protect their own identity by reacting, lashing out in this way and holding on to their perspective so very tightly, because without it, they don't have any clue who they are. And without it, they feel like their whole world is going to crash down around them. So you're learning at the moment that everyone has a choice, and you're also learning to, the Ace of Swords speaks about mental clarity. It speaks about you developing more of this mental clarity and seeing things for how they are, and being able to withdraw when you need to. This like contemplation card that the Four of Swords in reverse speaks of is like, yeah, contemplation, introspection, as well as resting a bit. And the Justice card, I mean, it's like this kind of like balanced approach where their interests matter, your interests matter, but it's your life. So you withdraw a bit, you see and observe the kinds of choices that they're making. Based on that, you have the mental clarity because you see things for how they are. You're contemplating whether or not that's something that flies with you, whether that's something that is something you can work with going forward in your relationships. And based on that, you make the judgment call, whether or not that's something that you need to hold on to, whether or not that's something that it's okay for you to let go. So very much like on the personal scale at the moment. Let's have a look at how this energy and like your starseed role plays out. The outcome, that's the word. The outcome. We have crystal, skull, wisdom, clarity, divine healing, high vibrational energy. Yeah. This goes back to what I already spoke about, how when people are leaving your life or you are leaving their life, you often don't get to see the kind of impact that you had on them because, you know, you only have the memory of being with them in this kind of intense state. But when you're leaving, they take the kind of approach with them, the kind of softened perspective, the open perspective. It changes them, like it's life-changing to them. So you're working like as a starseed, you're very much like working on the interpersonal level, interpersonal like local community, interpersonal relationships, touching everyone surrounding you. We have angelic frequency. Angels are here. You're a safe and potent connection. My guide said the kind of compassion that you are holding for others, where you're able to see all of these perspectives, also comes with this kind of compassion, being able to hold space for all of these challenging emotions that others have. Part of your makeup, part of your code is this kind of very, very pure, like high vibrational, angelic kind of frequency of empathy. With You Are Safe, by the way, part of your legacy at the end of your life is that this multiplicity of perspective and teaching others to, in conflict, see the viewpoint that another person have, etc. It's like you are changing the communication style of others as well. Where in conflicts, you know, when like two people are clashing, it's like both people are feeling unheard, unseen, and unsafe, and you opening up this communication channel with others, which again then ripples out into all of their other relationships, allows so much more people to feel safe in their relationships and open up these channels of communication. That's really, really, really beautiful. I love that. And then, oops. Third eye activation. I mean, what a surprise, hey? Broad chakra, inner vision, clear seeing. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I don't know what else to say about that. We got the perspective opening, the multiplicity of perspectives. I haven't said that one in a while. But yeah, so that's part of it. You're helping others to see. It's so clear for you. I feel like I have nothing more to say about that. But I do have a couple more cards to show you about how you can support yourself through this right now. So we have healing. Welcome healing into your mind, body, and life. And you see how this heart chakra is activated there? Really beautiful. We have pink quartz, love, open heart. Love, open heart, and kindness. I just heard my guides say, open your heart again. Like, open your heart again. Maybe after going through all of this, it has been shut down a little bit. Like, you've closed it off a little bit to protect yourself from further pain. Going forward, it might be time to gently open it up again. I will leave one meditation for you down in the description box. I think it's a 10-minute meditation where you are gently cleansing your heart space just by visualizing it. It's like really beautiful. I did it a couple of times. It's really nice. Okay. And then we have manifestation. Create the life you want. It's like this. You moving through the cycle of all of these karmic relationships and learning to open your own perspective throughout, and like seeing the relationship patterns, how they play out, and like seed all of your seeds there. It's time for you to come into a new way of relationships. It's time for you to come into mutually beneficial relationships of people who also have a similar perspective as you do, because you're not the only one. There are more out there, and there are more of them waiting to enter your life as well. But they can only come in when you are opening your heart up a little bit, and you are opening yourself up to meeting new people again. With this manifestation, create the life you want. This is basically, which kind of relationships do you want? Like, what would you want them to look like? How would you want them to feel? How would you want to feel in this relationship? How would you want them to feel? And if a conflict arises, how would you like it ideally to resolve? How would you like the both of you to move through, etc., and to start daydreaming a little bit about that, because you can create these kinds of relationships. And then the last card that we have is Opal. Happiness, creativity, and imagination. And the imagination here is the key. Allow yourself to envision a different way of interacting. Because those are the kinds of people that you will meet going forward. And like with opening your heart, again, there is, I say again, but I don't think I said it before, but there is no rush to you opening your heart again. You can take all the time you need. You can take all the time to heal from all of this. There's no need for you to rush. You will do it in your own time, and when you are ready, you will know. But your heart chakra needs a little bit of attention. A little bit of cleansing here and there, a little bit of love, a little bit of self-nurturing. Very gently starting to visualize some new relationships, etc. Like softly, softly, gentle, gentle. So those are the key words for this. All right, those are all the messages that wanted to come through. Really interesting. I'd love to hear how this resonated with you in the comments down below. If you would love to share, or if you're comfortable to share that with me. And again, there will be 3 extra resources coming your way this week. The first one is going to be an EFT tapping session to help release and cleanse some of the stagnant emotions, feelings, and memories connected to this. The second one is going to be a conversation and a talk about what it means to be a starseed and what it means to have a starseed consciousness, coming out, I think, on Saturday. Yeah. And the third one is going to be a 30-minute Usuya Reiki treatment. But for you as well, with like the heart healing, I just remembered I do have one that's called emotional healing, and I will put it also in the description box for you as a resource. So, my lovely starseeds, have a beautiful rest of your day, and I hope I see you soon again. Bye. If you chose the separation card, then welcome, welcome, welcome to your reading, my lovely starseeds of pile number 3. And let's get straight into your reading, because this card here is a representation of your role here on Earth in this lifetime. I'm getting it's quite a big message for you, because with the separation card, the want me to speak a little bit about the split that is happening in terms of energy for humans, human consciousness, human collective, how there is a split between old paradigm, new paradigm, moving into the new earth. And when I say moving into the new earth, it's like a new kind of frequency, a new kind of vibration that we have, which then also affects the way in which we are working, the kinds of businesses that we're building, the way in which we are interacting with each other, the way in which we are taking care of Mama Gaia. And it's a very big topic for this reading, and it's a very big topic for your lifetime, because your role is to help with that kind of separation in these energies. And these kinds of energies are playing out on a personal level and also on a collective level. So your kind of work here is both on the personal as well as on the collective level. We go a bit deeper into that throughout your reading. But that is the biggest part of your role here, is to help with this split and with the success of this kind of split. I want to pull a couple more cards before I speak more about that. But one image, first of all, before I pull more cards, one image that they're showing me is someone opening a pair of scissors. You know, and I actually have one right here. It's like someone opening a pair of scissors, and it's not like opening the scissors to cut, but it's more so that this is kind of the depiction that they're giving me when it comes to the energy split, where now we're at a moment where basically we are at a moment of being here. You know, like we are able to change gears. We're able to switch which direction we want to go, and it's this this turning point, kind of, you know, like this screw here. I forgot the name for it, but kind of like this screw here, where we are at this kind of turning point. It almost feels like it's a wheel, you know, like cyclical nature, and we're here. And based on where we are here and what kind of decisions we're making with this kind of cyclical motion, we then choose our path. And I feel like you are working around here. You're working on this kind of, like in the area of this kind of screw, when it comes to explaining the kind of energy work. All right, let's see how this ties together. Okay. So I went ahead and pulled a couple of cards to speak about the challenges that this role brings for you in this lifetime. And the first card that we have is Fall into My Arms, Surrender, Holding the Opposites and Extremes of Life. We have the Seas of Mintaka, Seeing Potential, Bringing Unconsciousness to Light. This like bringing unconsciousness to light, and you working where this kind of like screw is, where this kind of cyclical nature is. I feel like you're working with people, and you have this ability of basically, when we take this imagery of the ocean here, and like everything here is kind of clear and you can see, and it's like you are able to help people bring all of the hidden secrets and all of these hidden things from the bottom of their ocean, of like their subconscious. And you're able to bring all of this up to the surface, to this kind of like clear area where they are able to see and then discern what they can make with that, what they want to do with that. Whether it's something they want to take with them ahead or not. And then we have the Cosmic Heart, Devotion, Potency, and Make Your Life a Moving Prayer. I just heard you're teaching by example. One way in which you are teaching by example is when we have here fall into my arms, surrender, holding the opposites and extremes of life. So some of you, this is just for some of you, but some of you are working already in the spiritual field. And one thing that you have been coming up against is the spiritual bypassing, the like toxic positivity, only allowing good vibes, without addressing any of the darker energies that each and every single one of us carries. And it's not, I mean, I don't have to tell you that it's nothing bad. It's just, you know, it needs to be looked at. The shadow itself is only really powerful when you are unaware of that or you're trying to suppress it. But I'm not going to go deeper into that rant to stop myself there. And you have been coming up against that kind of border. Part of your power or part of your teaching comes from you opening that door again and holding the kind of darker energy, the kind of like negative vibes, negative energy, the heavier emotions, holding them and allowing them to pass through you from yourself, like learning how to work with them rather than against them, and allowing them to be there. It's like a very balanced, like you're teaching by example, by like balancing these like light and dark energies out within yourself. Because I mean, also the darker energies in ourselves, they have messages, and you're able to decipher these kinds of messages. Because you're able to do that, you can then help, like I said, others, like by dredging this like up from the bottom of the ocean, bringing that to the light to see, and then actually, you know, like them having a look at what's actually there, and almost like losing this kind of fear for it. So I want to say, like topic-wise, we're in territories of shadow work. That's something that you're doing with like devotion, potency, make your life a moving prayer. That's why like make your life a moving prayer. It's like you have done that in yourself, in your own life, and that's a huge part of your teaching. Because that's what's decided at this wheel. At this, I almost wanted to say cog. Almost, maybe it's a cog at the screw, you know? That's what you're helping people to decide, is to bring them to a place where how can I put this? It's their decision whether or not they want to look at what's there, at like the shadow side or the darker energies that are there. And you're able to help them process that if they choose to, but you are in a position where you're allowing them to make that choice. It's basically, you're also allowing them like which side of the scissors they want to walk on. Do they want to walk on the like light side, on like the new earth side, or do they not want to do that and stay in their vibration, in their energy with the way that they've been moving beforehand? That's really interesting. Let me look at a couple more cards. Yeah. Because I pulled some cards to see where you stand in regards to that kind of challenge. And by the way, me saying that this is a challenge of your life in this lifetime also means that there was a point in your life where you yourself have been on this kind of wheel, and you had to make a certain kind of decisions of facing that kind of darkness in yourself. You know, that's why it's like part of your challenge. You're like, yeah, like I said, you're teaching from experience there. We have the Ace of Pentacles. We have the Six of Cups. We have the Seven of Swords. We have the, what is that? The Four, right? Yeah, the Four of Pentacles in reverse. I'm going to show it to you upright regardless. I'm going to put it right back. And actually I can put these over here because that's sort of how they came out. They came out in 2 piles. That was one message, and then this one was a second message, and was like the 7 of Cups. All of these choices. All of these choices to make. Okay, so they are very clear here actually, because I'm getting like 2 messages here. The first one is that there is a new career opportunity growing for you at the moment. It's one that you've been contemplating whether or not you wanna take it or not, and it is surrounding the topic of doing and like helping people work through the difficult childhoods. Like bringing healing to their difficult childhoods. Goes back to what I said about like bringing this up and then having them decide what they want to do with that and how to navigate all of this, hold that space. I say that because like the 6 of Cups speaks about childhood memories and joy, and then we have here this energy of betrayal with the 7 of Swords, the 4 of Pentacles, which speaks about how can I phrase that? In the context of this, it speaks about like losing resources. When it comes to childhood and the joy, it's like child abuse is one thing that comes through just as a topic very, very clearly. Just child abuse is something that is coming through. We're not going to go deeper into any of that topic at all, so don't worry about it, but just know that as a topic, that's something that's coming through, where you're helping people to work their way through that and rediscovering that they have all of these different choices, you know. Like I said with the whale, it's like, okay, they worked through that and now they can decide who they want to be, how they want to live their life, who they want to have in their lives, and just how to set everything up. So there's like doing this kind of shadow work. The second message for you is that this speaks about an opportunity when it comes to building and creating more abundance and moving through some limiting beliefs surrounding how abundance can be created. Also, again, based on this that cog, on the screw, on the separation of energies, where like I said, like one part of you are the kinds of healers when it comes to this like childhood memories, etc. But for others of you, your kind of healing work is to create a specific kind of business that is grounded in abundance, that is grounded in these new earth kinds of energies, which will then generate a lot of abundance, and it's going to open the eyes of other people where they will realize, okay, so maybe the kind of business that I can build can actually benefit everybody and also be good for the earth, and I don't need to build it in such a way where I'm trying to one-up everyone else in the market and I'm trying to steal from other people in order to stay one step ahead, and it's not coming from this scarcity mindset anymore, where there's not enough for everybody. So, you know, like a business career opportunity that is grounded in pure abundance, and that allows people to then realize that, oh shit, I have a choice. I have a choice on how I can build going forward myself. So again, both examples like very much grounded in you being an example for others. That's really interesting to have these 2 kinds of perspectives. I'm gonna leave that one up here, and then we're going to look at possible outcomes for this lifetime of yours. We have Lemurian seed codes, embracing sensitivity, uniqueness, and living with grace. We have, yes, Earth Star activation, anchoring grounded action and Isis energy. We have I am presence, light body activation, accessing the divine within. And then the last one that we have for you, Memories of Atlantis, Spiritual Acceleration, Progress, and Technology. Yeah, I mean, helping others work their way through this kind of like childhood memories, as well as building a business that is founded in the new kinds of energy, both will result in spiritual acceleration, because both are parts of a holistic kind of spiritual transformation and an energy healing. Just different aspects, but both of them are heavily working on this kind of acceleration, because both are allowing, how can I put this in words? It's like both are connected to a lightening of energy for yourself, for the collective, for Mama Gaia. So that's part of your legacy here, is like more people going into these different kinds of business ventures, if that's what you're building, you know, like other people emulating some kind of business structure that you're having, like a specific way of approaching that, or again, doing the kind of healing, which then allows them to make these kinds of informed choices, which will then, the spiritual acceleration, I mean, once they've done that kind of healing work and they've been on this kind of cog, on this kind of wheel, and they chose their path, obviously there will be acceleration for them if they choose the higher vibrational path, which you are, by the way, I haven't said that yet, but you are embodying that, the higher vibrational path, like the new earth kind of path, you're massively embodying that. Because part of that as well is addressing these kind of darker energies, these kind of heavier energies, to properly transmute that, rather than to pretend that they don't exist, or saying that they are, it's bad to look at them, or I don't know how to phrase that, but I'm sure you know what I mean. Light body activation, accessing the divine within. Naturally, when the way is cleared internally, you can start to hear more of these inspirations, and you can then move ahead with your life. And this light body activation, that goes hand in hand with what I just spoke about with the spiritual acceleration. Anchoring grounded energy, grounded action. I feel like this kind of energy work that you are doing itself, like helping people move through these kind of difficulties, it will be very grounded, because again, you have worked through these energies yourself, so you have a very grounded perspective on that. You have a very practical approach to moving through that, both the childhood healing as well as obviously like building those kinds of businesses, because you will do it yourself. And that will make it very easy and attainable for people to follow in your footsteps, follow along, be guided by you, because it's so practical, it's so grounded, and like this grounded kind of actions are part of the spiritual acceleration. I mean, if we're talking about spiritual evolution for like many, many lifetimes, many, many generations, centuries, there has been this idea that to become enlightened, you are essentially trying to transcend the body. And we're only now opening ourselves up to the wisdom that actually maybe that's not the case. Maybe the way to spiritually, to become enlightened, whatever that means for you, is to be fully present in the body, to be fully embodied with the light, with the dark, and be balanced in this kind of state, to be fully grounded. And I also feel like that is part of your mission as well, to shift that kind of perspective a bit. Which obviously it's just one perspective. If you are someone who believes that it's necessary to transcend, etc., that's fine. I'm not saying that you are wrong and what I just said is right. It's just different kinds of perspectives depending on where we're coming from. And from the energy that I see here, either it's something where you are headed, or it's a place where you already are when it comes to having this kind of perspective. With Lemurian seed codes, embracing sensitivity, uniqueness, and living with grace. embracing this kind of sensitivity to even be able to see that there is a different choice to make, to see that there are other opportunities. And I mean, when we're talking about the kind of business ventures, just to give you one example, what I spoke about, like of needing to be one step ahead of the market and one-upping one another, all of your competitors, having all of these analysis in place of what everyone else is doing, and then trying to steal maybe some ideas to get one up on the other, etc. This is an old way of working, an old way of doing things that is grounded in this kind of scarcity mindset. When you are building the business that you are about to build, it will kind of like this image here, it will be seen far and wide because of the different way it's set up. It will have a certain kind of uniqueness about the way that it is structured, about the way in which you are basing, or like what you are basing your business decisions on, etc. All of this will be a little bit different, a little bit unique, and it will be more grounded, less in this like hyper masculine kind of energy of what I spoke about, you know, like with, what I already spoke of. I don't need to dive deeper into that, but more so coming at this from an intuitive side, and with this intention of nurturing not just yourself, your own bank account, your clients, but also, you know, everyone else, your community surrounding you, etc. It's like a completely vastly different way of creating a business, a vastly different way of working. And I feel like for you, that's something that's coming massively. I'm excited to see what you're building. I would love to see and like gather some ideas from the kind of business that you're building, because that's a topic in general I'm super interested in myself. So we have citrine, goal setting, abundance, and positive energy. And I need to say as well, these cards are a representation of, or like some guidance on how you can best support yourself through that at the moment. We have Goddess of Rebirth and Transformation with Kali. If my camera would like to focus. Yes, there we go. We have Space. Hold space for your difficult emotions. And I just heard that some of you are carrying quite a bit of grief when it comes to having this kind of role. Because you are at this kind of turning point, and you're also meeting people at this kind of turning point in their own lives, you see quite a few people choosing a different path than you, and like going into, or like staying in the old way of being, in the old kind of like energy realm. There have been quite a few goodbyes, and there will be quite a few more goodbyes moving forward. And you're being asked to kindly hold space for yourself, to allow yourself to feel and process that kind of grief. Because that's difficult work. Because it's not up to you what people are choosing. And I mean, I'm not telling you anything new, you know that. So on an emotional level, that is quite challenging to do that kind of work. Yeah, all right. And then the last one that we have, last quarter with release. And I just heard the words like release expectations. For you to release some expectations about your impact, as well as what other people choose. Like it's not up to you what other people choose. Like other people can make their own choices. With a goal setting, abundance, and positive energy, clearly you want to create something. We touched on that. Whatever avenue it is that we touched on, like whatever it is, bring some positive energy to that, because also this is a very important role that you have. Like really, really, really important role that you have. And yes, some people will choose to stay with the old, but there will also be so many people that will be so lucky to meet you along their way, because they will recognize that they do have this kind of choice, and because of your impact in their life, they will then choose and go with like the new earth, with a new kind of frequency, the new kind of vibration, the new kind of life, the new kind of everything because of you. So start setting yourself some goals, just a little bit at a time. You know, you don't need to, I mean, you don't really build a business in one day anyway. It takes a bit of time, takes a bit of patience. So start a little bit with envisioning that, what would it look like for you? What could you see? Maybe doing a bit of research surrounding this kind of topic. Yeah, I mean, abundance is coming up again. How could a world look like that was grounded in unconditional love and that was abundant all around? What could that look like? What would that world look like for you? I think that's a good question for you to ask yourself, because I feel like that's going to start some kind of inspiration for you about, and like bring some ideas for you about the ways in which you can start building that in your life already, because you are a bit more on the forefront. I mean, you being at this wheel, it's like you've been through the wheel, or you're going through the wheel first, and then you're standing on the side and helping others in this wheel situation. So you're already on the right side. And with Goddess of Rebirth and Transformation, allow this change to take place. This is a part of rebirth. You are rebirthing yourself right now as well, into this new kind of energy, fully grounding yourself in this new kind of energy. So allow this upgrade to take place. Yeah. There's nothing more that they want me to share with you. That's it. I hear nothing else. So my lovely pile number 3s, that was your reading for today. Please remember that there are 3 extra resources coming your way this week and also next week. The first one is going to be an EFT tapping session to help you release some of this like stagnant energy, emotions, thoughts, and memories surrounding this topic for the collective of being a starseed in this kind of changing, pivotal times. The second one is going to be a talk where I share a download that I had about what it means to be a starseed and what it means to have a starseed consciousness in a human body. That's going to come out on Saturday, I believe. And the third one is going to be a 30-minute Usui Reiki treatment. So some Reiki healing to harmonize and balance your energy system. If any of those are out already, you'll find them in the pinned comment down below. And that's all from me for today, for you. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I hope I see you soon again. Bye.